Great pleasure right now to welcome to our show today a man who is writing books about taking care of your heart, and he has lived the story himself. His latest book is called Positive Mind, Healthy Heart. Take charge of your cardiac health one day at a time. We're joined by Joe Piscatella, who has also written Don't Eat Your Heart Out Cookbook, which was a great bestseller. I'm sure this one will be just as successful. And Joe, thanks for being with us. How are you today?
Oh, Doug, it's my pleasure, Doug, to be with you. Thanks for having me on.
I had a chance to read through the book. I got it the other day, and remarkable what you went through at really kind of a young age. I think you were only in your early 30s when you went through this heart surgery, weren't you?
Yeah, I had bypass surgery when I was 32, and me and my children were 6 and 4. We were a young family, and it got complicated because after the surgery was over, my surgeon actually said to me, I'm glad the surgery worked out well, but he said, the disease you have is so aggressive, frankly, we doubt that you're going to live to be 40. So that was the message that I took home, and instead of subscribing to that message, my wife and I really dedicated ourselves to eating better, exercising better, managing our stress, and today I am the longest-lived survivor of cardiac bypass in the country. This July, God willing, I will be 33 years post-bypass surgery, an enormous amount of time to have lived after coronary bypass.
Yeah, congratulations on that, because when you had that surgery, I know it had been around maybe since the 60s, but basically the 70s when I think people first started to have that, wasn't it?
Well, yeah, I mean, it was still, I wouldn't want to call it an experimental surgery, but we had a fair number of people that died on the table because it's, what they're doing today in bypass surgery, the whole technique is different than the way it was done then. So it's, but I'm fortunate that things have worked out the way they have, but it worked out the way they have because I figured out how to make diet and exercise priorities in my life. And early on, I found that, I was having a problem in terms of doing what I knew was the right thing to do. I might have gotten through bypass surgeries, but there were still days when a hot dog called my name. There were days when I didn't want to roll out of bed and exercise. So I had to figure out, what do you do to make it work? And I did two things. The first thing was I figured out that it's all about today. I don't care about yesterday. It's gone. I can't get it back. I'm not concerned about tomorrow. It's not even here yet. What I am concerned about is how do I make the commitment to living healthy for today? I certainly can find 45 minutes to exercise somewhere today. I certainly can figure out how to have 3 healthy meals today. That's really all I need to do. And then the days turn into weeks, the weeks turn into months, and in my case, the months have turned into almost 33 years, but I've achieved those 33 years one day at a time. The second thing that I came to understand was it takes more than facts to have people change their lifestyle. I mean, if all it took was facts, we'd be a nation of non-smokers. But I think it's more about feelings than facts, and so I started early on to keep a little notebook with motivational quotes and stories and tips that I would read every morning before I made, my commitment for the day to healthy living. And now we've taken all those stories and quotes and motivational anecdotes and put them in this book, Positive Mind, Healthy Heart, so that people can use that motivation to get their mindset to be as positive as possible, which then allows them to take the action that they need to take to stay committed for the day. So it all kind of works together, this mind-body thing. But once I discovered motivation was a key principle, it became just much, much easier for me to do.
It's almost like a devotional. I know it's not a religious book, but it's almost laid out like the devotional books you get in church where it's one day at a time, but I think it's a great idea.
Yeah, there's 365 days. You don't have to start on day 1 because it's not January 1. I mean, you can start in the middle. I know one guy that started at 365 and is working backwards, but they're all designed to help get you up for that day. For example, this morning I got up, I was sitting on the side of my bed thinking about my exercise, and I picked up the book and I opened it up, and the quote I turned to was, there are no gold medals for the 95-yard dash.
Right.
You got to go 100 yards. You've got to do the work. Well, that spoke to me, and I thought, okay, let's get it done. So I got my shoes on, headed out, took a jog, and, got my exercise out of the way. So I think that it's very important to create that kind of atmosphere and to create that kind of feeling where you're able to make diet and exercise work, for that day. That's what you're concerned about.
Joe, what was the bigger challenge for you? I've heard other people that have gone through this surgery. Is the physical recovery or the mental recovery? I've heard the mental recovery sometimes takes a little bit longer.
Yeah. That's an excellent question, and I would say it's probably about 50-50.
Mm-hmm.
It's a hard surgery to come back for. Your breastbone is split in half. The body is really violated by this surgery, and it takes a while for things to knit back together. It's painful, and I wouldn't want to minimize it. I mean, I wouldn't have anybody go through it as an elective surgery, that's for sure. But I also think that that mentally it takes its toll. It seems to be tied to the heart-lung machine, the amount of time that you spend on it. But some folks have a bit of a cognitive problem. They don't do crossword puzzles as well as they used to, and that may go away, but sometimes it lingers on. Some people have actually had personality changes as a result of it. I've had women in seminars say to me, this is not the man I married. He's totally different than he was before bypass surgery. That's extreme, but sometimes it happens. But I think that, two things is the advice that I took. First off, if you're smart enough to do the things I'm talking about with diet and exercise and positive thinking before you have a heart problem, then, you're in the best position because you may prevent it. If you've had the surgery and you have a heart problem, then I still recommend doing these things because the exercise will help your mind to recover. Positive thinking will help your mind to recover, and healthy eating and exercise will help your body to recover. I don't want to sit around dwelling on how my chest hurts and I'm not thinking like I used to. I want to get involved in life and have these things come back, and the way you do that is by practicing that healthy lifestyle every single day, which includes positive thinking.
I think it's a great book for people, not necessarily even if you don't have heart surgery, any kind of surgery or medical thing you go through. These tips are going to help you as well,
Yeah, it's interesting because I'm going to give you my website, and I get questions on my website all the time, but I have had a number of people who have just dropped me a note on the website to say, hey, this book's terrific. I'm getting it for my mother for Mother's Day, or I'm going to set one aside for my father for Father's Day. Not because they've got heart disease, but just because they want them to live as healthy as possible, which I wish I had thought up that idea, but I didn't, but I think it's a good one.
Joe, we're running out of time, so get out the website if you want. People want to get a hold of you.
It's just my name, www.joepiscatella, JoePiscatella.com, JoePiscatella.com. And from my website, you can go over to my Facebook, and on my Facebook every day we have a thought for the day, we have a piece of advice, an article that I've written, something that will help you with your health.
Great. Joe, have you ever head down to our way in Tampa Bay, Sarasota? I'd love to have you back on in person sometime, but thanks for being with us today.
I would love to do that. Thank you so much, Doug. I appreciate being on.